to start to think about those things. My daughter's 20 and we have her thinking about it already. Not to be depressing and not to be extra as parents, but this is adult life. And adult lifing means being prepared, like you said. Yeah. So it's never too early, and you get that trusted family member or friend to be the designee of the person to handle your affairs.
Excellent. That is true, because it's never too early to start. And having that person delegated to know where everything is.
Yes.
Because I've seen situations where people didn't know where important documents were. They didn't know where bank accounts were. Mm-hmm. They didn't have anyone sign. They didn't have power of attorney paperwork that they can seek a professional to learn more about, like you were stating.
Yes.
That relates to all your finances.
Yes.
So if you need to be able to make decisions for your loved one and walking into different establishments, that POA paper means a lot.
It does.
And as well as if you have a loved one that's in the hospital or in some form of rehab, and you have medical power of attorney papers in place and conversations with the doctors. Okay, these are things you should have conversations
That's right.
with, knowing where your loved ones' doctors are. Like, some people don't know my mother or my father or my spouse, their doctors. They don't know the information as it relates to that. And it sounds like you wanted to comment.
Yeah, let's park right there.
Yes.
It's as simple as taking a 3-ring binder.
Yes.
And your phone. Everybody got these phones, right? With these cameras on them. Taking pictures of your ID, your social security card, your birth certificate. Making certain that a copy of all of your insurance policies, your car information, your property information, that copies of it or originals are all in one place. So that not if that time comes, when that time comes,
that is a very good
that trusted family member will know, like my daughter, my husband knows that I have for my business, for example, and even getting your important papers in your business is important. They know that if something happens to me and they're wondering how to access certain things in terms of my business, they walk into my office, go to the right or go to the left, and they grab a certain binder off the shelf. And it has in there everything that they need, passwords, all the documentation they need so that they can do what my will says to do when it comes to the affairs regarding my business. It's the same in our families. Have a folder, have a drawer. You can clean out your side table, your end table drawer, your top drawer in your dresser, wherever you designate, and then make certain to tell somebody.
Right.
You know, it's important that it be safe, but don't have it be so obscure that people can't find your stuff. I had a situation with a rather famous family member who passed away, and it was not easy to find their important papers, but eventually we did.
Right.
So yes, having them in one place all together and just having them.
Right. And having that conversation, like, so, like you said, having that conversation to, like, it's going to be in this central place. It's going to be here. Go look over there. And if I do not know where it is and something happens to me, I have someone else that also is delegated to know where stuff is, because when the time comes, if I'm not able physically to speak or say something, then I know that you can also go and speak to someone else and they would know where it is. Many times we hear that saying, well, I don't want to tell you right now because I feel okay or nothing's going to happen. But we need to have things in place. We have our bills that come in the mail, and we take our bills and we put them in a safe place.
Yes.
So why not have our important papers in a safe place so individuals will know, our loved ones will know what to do?
Yes.
And why not have that conversation? Because at some point in time, like you said, it's not if, it's when.
Indeed. Can I share with you how even when I did the series Important Papers, my own mother said, oh, Lauren, that's nice that you're doing something like that, but you know, old folks are set in their ways.
Right.
And it's difficult to get them to come over to the side about being more vocal and transparent about their personal affairs. So with Mom saying that to me, I made certain that one of our guests spoke to that. And now here we are, Tina, 3 years later, my mom is telling me my figurines, this is what I want you to do. This paperwork, see this over here, this is where you're going to find all my important papers.
Wow.
I started small with her because, you know, we got to roll with how, you know, our elders flow. But here we are 3 years later, and now my mom is open to having the conversations because she realizes the when rather than the if.
Wow, I love that she's open now. And just because you started, many times we don't start because we're nervous and thinking that someone didn't. But I'm so glad that you started and you said, listen, I'm going to put it on Zoom. I'm going to let people know that this is important to talk about. I want to just target these areas. To having that advocacy, having that person come on and talk about estate planning. Estate planning, I just want to state, is for everyone.
Yes.
It doesn't matter your income. Many times people think estate plan is only for individuals who are wealthy. Put your estate, put your planning together for your estate. No matter what you have, you should always have estate planning. You should write it down, telling your loved one and everyone else that you may delegate what you want to have in place if something happens to you.
Yes.
What do I own? What is what is like not passionate, but what do I cherish is the word that I want to make sure someone knows about, because that's part of my estate. What I own, something that I cherish. So again, I just want to emphasize, it's not for those who just have a surplus amount of money.
That's
for
right.
anyone to do estate planning. Do you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. It can be as simple as, when it comes to my jewelry, I want this to go to Aunt Sophie. Everything else, I don't care what you do with it. You can donate it, you can give it away, I don't care. If that's your desire, document that desire. You know, some of us may belong to fraternities or sororities. It's really important in the Divine Nine, historically Black Greek letter organization community, that we let our family members know how to handle our shirts and our jewelry and such that has our sorority or fraternity markers on it, because there's a certain way that organizations want us to handle it, and we have to make that clear. If we have non-Greek family members, they don't know what to do with my sorority plaques and shirts and jackets and such, but there's a certain way that we're to handle it, and so that's a great opportunity in our will, in our documentation, to say what we want done with those things too.
Excellent. I'm glad you brought that up, because again, having that conversation is essential to making sure everything is laid out. It's like having preparation is key.
Yes.
I want to target back to having a advocate.
Yes.
That is very important, especially for me. I find being an advocate for elder parent it can be time consuming, but it's worth it, because when that person can no longer speak on their behalf in the way that's beneficial for them, you have to be that advocate. So having someone come on your show and talking about that meant a lot. And don't think you have to have a degree to advocate. You know your loved ones, you know what's needed. So advocating for them is very important, and having someone speak on their behalf, no matter what type of establishment they're in, is very important. That
is so true, because when you have an advocate that knows you enough and knows what you might like, dislike, and if it's not otherwise documented, they can speak well and clearly on your behalf. The worst is not to have an advocate and have medical professionals making the decisions for you. And in recent years, there's been a big shift where people of color have felt like some medical professionals haven't always had their best interest at hand. And so they're taking more care to make certain that they have a proper family member or friend in place with that documentation, with that power of attorney, with that medical advance directive to say, I can speak on Lauren's behalf. Even though she can't communicate right now, for example, this document gives me the right to communicate on her behalf. My mother-in-law had a stroke a few years ago, and it was so great that we knew that she had a will, an advance directive, and a few other important papers in place, which made it easier for my husband and my sister-in-law to be able to communicate on her behalf. Because when she had a stroke, she was non-communicative. She couldn't talk for herself. And she is a very particular person and likes things a particular way. So my husband and my sister-in-law were able to communicate things well on her behalf with that proper documentation and advocating to the medical staff to make certain that she got the top-notch care that she deserved. And that's very important. I would like to thank you so much. You have shared so much information on this today's show, and it's been very important for us to understand important papers. We have maybe like a minute and a half left. So I just want you to give our viewers information on how they can get in contact with you, and share some last
pointers that you would like to give them about important papers?
Sure thing. So again, my name is Lauren Nance, and you can find me at laurennance.com. You can reach me at hello@laurennance.com. You can also find me on social media if that's a bit easier, Facebook, Instagram, and I am Lauren Nance is my handle on social media. And so if I had to give you all one thing that you could do today to just get started with your important papers, I would say grab a notebook or grab your device and go into your Notes app and start to think through and write down what types of things you would want your family to know about your life and the things that are important to you when you get to the place of preparing a will, an advance directive, or power of attorney. And just start to write, and then get with a professional and start to have those conversations, get those documents in order so that you can make certain that your legacy is well organized and well prepared for.
Thank you again. Thank you all for tuning in to the Village Drum. I'm your host, Coach Tina Lane. Have a good evening.